Ethan Cross adjusted the controls of his small scout ship as it glided silently through the darkness of deep space. The stars stretched endlessly around him, glittering like distant fires in the void. For months, humanity had been exploring the outer sectors of Andromeda, mapping new planets and seeking contact with alien civilizations. Ethan had been trained for situations far stranger than this, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to face. His ship's scanner picked up a faint, irregular signal. It was coming from a planet in the Sirion system, a world marked by jagged mountains and dense forests. The signal was weak, fragmented, but unmistakable, a distress call. Ethan frowned and zoomed in. "This is unusual," he muttered. Most distress signals from human colonies had standard patterns. This one was different. As he approached the planet, he saw a vast base bristling with defenses. It was unlike anything human engineers had ever built. Towering walls of dark metal, energy shields shimmering like liquid glass, and patrols of alien soldiers moving with precise coordination. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He knew instantly that whoever was inside the base was in grave danger. Then the signal resolved into a clear voice, frantic but determined. "Help! Me! Please, Raxar. Experiments. I am Zephyrian." Liara. Ethan froze. The Zephyrians were a humanoid alien race known for their advanced science and energy technology. They had always maintained a peaceful relationship with humans, sharing knowledge rather than war. And now one of them was being held captive. Without a second thought, Ethan set his ship to orbit stealthily. He watched the base, studying the patterns of the Raxar guards. These were a dangerous, aggressive species, infamous for enslaving or destroying anyone who resisted them. A direct assault would be suicide, but Ethan had a plan. Humans had ingenuity on their side, something the Raxar did not fully understand. The power to improvise, to think in ways no machine could predict. Ethan activated the cloaking system of his scout ship and flew closer, scanning for weaknesses. The base was powered by 3 main energy cores, each connected to the shields, weapons, and life support. If he could destroy those cores, the entire facility would collapse. But getting inside was the challenge. He spent hours watching, learning the patrol schedules, the timing of the energy pulses, the blind spots in the laser turrets. When he finally decided it was time, he donned his combat suit, a blend of human armor and adaptive energy shielding, and readied his plasma charges. The night on the planet below was dark and stormy. Lightning flashed across the jagged mountains, illuminating the base in sharp, brief bursts. Ethan descended in a small stealth pod, landing in a hidden ravine. From there, he would make his way to the core of the base. As he approached the outer walls, he noticed a figure in the shadows, a humanoid with silver blue skin, glowing eyes, and a determined stance. Liara. She had been left unguarded for a moment, perhaps during a shift change. Their eyes met briefly, and she understood instantly. "This human was here to help," Ethan whispered. "I'm here to get you out. Follow me, but stay quiet." Liara nodded, her expression a mixture of hope and fear. She was strong, no doubt. But the Raxar had technological weapons and genetic modifications that could overwhelm her. She would need Ethan's help to escape. They moved silently through the corridors, evading patrols and security cameras. Liara guided Ethan through sections of the base he could not see on the scanner, showing hidden passages known only to the prisoners. They reached the chamber that housed the energy cores. Ethan quickly planted the plasma charges on each core, timing the detonations for maximum effect, while ensuring they had enough time to escape. The alarms began to sound just as they reached the extraction point. "Move!" Ethan shouted. They ran toward the pod, dodging blaster fire and narrowly avoiding a patrol of Raxar soldiers. Ethan fired his plasma pistol not to kill but to create distractions and open pathways. Liara followed, keeping close, her confidence growing with each step. They reached the pod and Ethan punched the controls. The engines roared to life. Behind them, the base began to shake, its walls cracking under the strain of the explosives. Ethan piloted the pod skillfully through the defensive fire, weaving between energy beams and missile strikes. The base erupted in a massive explosion just as they reached orbit, sending fire and debris into the dark sky. Liara looked out the viewport, awe and relief mixing in her expression. You destroyed it," she said softly. Ethan exhaled, allowing himself a small smile. We had to. They would have killed you or worse. For the first time, silence settled between them, not the silence of fear, but the quiet calm after a storm. They were safe, at least for now. Once they were far enough from the planet, Ethan set a course for a nearby moon known for its habitable environment and isolation. "We need somewhere safe," he said. "A place where we can plan our next move." Liara nodded, still processing everything. "I never thought a human would risk so much for me." Her voice carried wonder, but also a strange warmth. During the journey, Ethan learned more about her. Liara was a scientist specializing in energy manipulation. The Raxar had captured her because of her knowledge of a new type of power source that could change the balance of technology in the sector. But she had refused to cooperate with them, which had made her a target. "You are very brave," Ethan said, glancing at her. "I've seen a lot in my missions, but you don't give up even when it's impossible." Liara smiled faintly. "You saved my life. That counts for something." Ethan didn't answer immediately. There was a bond forming, silent but undeniable. They had faced death together, and trust had been built in that crucible. He knew that humanity's strength was not just in technology or weapons. It was in courage, ingenuity, and compassion. And in this moment, it had made the difference between life and death. The moon they arrived at was covered in dense forests and clear lakes. It was isolated, far from known shipping lanes. Ethan and Liara stepped out of the pod, breathing the crisp air. For the first time in days, they felt truly safe. Liara began to examine the environment, taking notes and scanning for resources. "This place could sustain life," she said. "It's perfect for hiding and for starting over." Ethan set up a temporary shelter while she explored nearby. As night fell, twin moons reflected light across the trees, casting long shadows. They sat together outside their shelter, sharing stories of their pasts, Liara of her world and work, Ethan of his training and missions. Laughter came easily, breaking the tension that had gripped them for so long. Before sleep, Liara looked at Ethan. I don't know how to thank you. Not just for saving me, but for everything." Ethan shrugged modestly. "No need. I'd do it again, humans. We don't leave people behind. That's how we survive. That's how we win." There was a quiet understanding between them. In that moment, they were more than rescuer and rescued. They were allies, comrades, and perhaps something more. Above them, the stars stretched endlessly, reminding them of the vastness of the universe. Out there, enemies still lurked and challenges would come. But for now, they had each other. And sometimes that was enough to face the unknown. As they settled in for the night, Ethan couldn't help but think of the Raxar and the destruction of their base. He felt a strange mix of satisfaction and foreboding. He had destroyed a threat, yes, but war always had consequences. And somewhere in the darkness of the galaxy, the Raxar would remember this human who dared to defy them. Liara drifted to sleep beside him, trusting him completely, a trust that had been earned in fire and fear. Ethan watched the stars one last time before closing his eyes. Tomorrow they would start building a new life, and together they would face whatever the galaxy had in store. The moon they had chosen for refuge was quiet and peaceful, a perfect sanctuary for two fugitives from a war that spanned galaxies. Ethan and Liara spent the first days exploring the terrain, identifying fresh water sources, edible plants, and safe places to build shelters. Though their victory against the Raxar had been decisive, they knew that danger could still reach them at any moment. Ethan built a small living area using lightweight materials from his ship and supplies that Liara had salvaged from the Raxar base. He rigged solar panels to generate electricity and constructed barriers that could offer protection in case of unexpected attacks. Liara, meanwhile, set up a laboratory where she could safely continue her work, away from Raxar eyes. Despite the constant tension, moments of normalcy began to appear. They cooked meals together over small fires, shared stories of their childhoods, and even laughed at jokes they didn't fully understand. Slowly, the bond between them grew stronger, moving from respect and trust to something deeper. One day, while exploring a narrow canyon, Liara froze. Ethan noticed her posture, immediately tense, cautious. A small bundle lay among the rocks, shivering and covered in dust. As they approached, Ethan realized it was an infant, part Raxar, part something unfamiliar, with wide, frightened eyes and tiny limbs. The child's cry was weak but persistent. Liara knelt down carefully. It was abandoned, Someone left it here, she said softly. Ethan glanced around. There were no signs of adult survivors, and the child seemed completely alone. Ethan frowned, feeling a mixture of concern and determination. We can't leave it, he said firmly. It's alive and it needs help. No matter what species, we do what's right. Liara nodded, hesitant but agreeing. Together, they carried the child back to their settlement. Over the next few days, they took turns caring for it. Liara devised nutrient mixtures that were safe for the infant, and Ethan built a small cradle that could keep the child secure. The infant began to thrive under their care. Each smile, each small movement reminded them that life could grow even from the ruins of war. They named the child Terran, a neutral name that reflected their hope for a future without conflict. Life on the moon settled into a rhythm. Ethan and Liara worked together to cultivate the land. Using both Zephyrian technology and human engineering, they cleared small areas to grow food and created a rain collection system to ensure fresh water. Liara taught Ethan how to use energy nodes to power their devices, while Ethan showed Liara how to maintain equipment, set up defenses, and repair machinery. Evenings were the most peaceful. The three of them would sit near a fire, Terran nestled between them, and watch the twin moons rise. Liara often spoke of her people, of the knowledge she hoped to preserve, and the hope that humanity and Zephyrians could work together for a better galaxy. Ethan listened, fascinated, offering insights from his experience among humans. One night, as Terran slept, Ethan and Liara stood side by side, gazing at the stars. Do you ever wonder, Liara asked, if this peace will last? The Raxar will not forget what we did. They will come. Ethan's hand rested lightly on hers. We'll be ready. Humans don't give up, and neither do you. Together we can handle anything. Their relationship deepened, grounded not in words alone but in shared effort, shared danger, and mutual respect. In Liara, Ethan had found courage and intelligence beyond his understanding. In Ethan, Liara had found a protector, a teacher, and a friend she could trust with her life. Weeks passed, and the settlement began to feel like a home. Terran grew stronger every day, learning to crawl, then walk, and eventually to explore the small spaces around the base. Ethan and Liara watched with pride, realizing that this tiny life had already begun to heal the wounds of past battles. Then, one afternoon, a small Raxar scouting ship appeared on the horizon. Ethan saw it first, scanning the skies through binoculars. The vessel was small, but it was armed. They had been found, Liara tensed. What do we do? Ethan's mind raced. They could fight, but their priority was protecting Terran. He quickly devised a plan. Using the terrain to their advantage, he set traps that would disable the ship if it tried to land. Liara helped, using energy fields to obscure their location. As the Raxar ship descended, it activated its scanners. Ethan triggered the first trap, sending an EMP pulse that disrupted the ship's systems. Sparks flew from the vessel as it struggled to maintain control. Liara released a secondary energy field, forcing the ship to retreat. By nightfall, the threat had passed. Ethan and Liara held Terran close, relieved but not overconfident. They'll keep coming, Ethan said. But so will we. We'll protect this life no matter what. Days turned into months. The Raxar never returned in force, perhaps deterred by the destruction of their base or by the strength of the humans' defenses. Ethan and Liara continued to build their home, teaching Terran about the world, showing him how to respect life, how to care for others, and how courage could overcome fear. Terran became the symbol of their unity. He was part human, part alien, but wholly loved. Ethan often marveled at how much joy a small life could bring after so much darkness. Liara, too, felt a warmth she had not experienced in years, hope, trust, and a sense of family. One quiet evening, as the three of them watched the sun set over a crystalline lake, Liara spoke softly. We are a family now, Ethan, not by blood but by choice. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight and the beauty of her words. Yes, and we will face everything together. The galaxy is vast and dangerous, but here we are strong. Life settled into a new normal. Ethan continued to patrol the skies occasionally, ensuring that no threats approached, while Liara advanced her scientific work, creating tools that would make their life easier and safer. Terran grew, learning to pilot small crafts under Ethan's careful guidance and studying energy nodes with Liara. As the seasons changed, the trio became a story of resilience and hope. Their home, once a temporary refuge, became a thriving sanctuary where life flourished despite the shadows of war. Birds nested in the nearby forest, plants bloomed, and the land itself seemed to welcome them. Ethan often reflected on the path that had brought them here. A simple act of courage, destroying the Raxar base to save Liara, had created something far greater than victory. It had created a family, a life worth protecting, and a legacy of hope. One evening, as Terran giggled while playing with a small robotic companion Liara had built, Ethan reached out and took Liara's hand. "We've come a long way," he said, smiling. "From war and danger to this. We did it together." Liara squeezed his hand, her eyes reflecting the twin moons. "And we will continue, Ethan. Whatever comes, we face it together." The child laughed again, running to Ethan with small, clumsy steps. Ethan picked him up, spinning him gently in the air. Liara joined in, lifting Terran higher, and together, the three of them laughed as the stars began to twinkle above, marking another peaceful night in their new world. In that moment, Ethan realized something profound. Humanity's strength was not only in its courage or intelligence, but in its ability to protect, to nurture, and to love. He had saved a life, destroyed a threat, and in doing so, had built something stronger than any weapon, a family. The galaxy remained dangerous and threats would rise again. But for now there was laughter, love, and life, and that was worth everything. As the twin suns set, casting warm colors across the landscape, Ethan, Liara, and Terran stood together, watching the horizon. They were a family of three, bound not by blood, but by choice, courage, and compassion. And whatever the stars had in store for them next, they would face it as one.